And in other news today, Kirti Kapoor continues to write poems on every dish that she is tasting. So we are waiting for her to finish with the whole menu of the Slow Fire Chef till we actually get down to publishing her works. They are worth every word that she puts down. And we understand that the cats in Singapore are protesting because they are all very hungry because the captain has flown away to some other lands, and they are desperately wanting him to come back and feed them very soon. So while the cats are mewling, we shall continue with today's podcast. And what is the podcast? Fun in the kitchen? Are you crazy? No way. The kitchen is my sanctum sanctorum. There's no way I'm going to allow any fun in there. I mean, that's where, it's like my temple. That's where I cook. I am the queen, of all I survey. That is my realm. And I want everything perfect, everything in its place, a place for everything, clean, dry, shining, no splotches and masalas and oil and things like that anywhere. No fun, no way. That is like criminal. No, no, no. Because that's actually the way I used to be. I was very, very uptight when I entered, when I had my kitchen. Before Amit Mehra. Yeah, my life is a before Amit Mehra and an after Amit Mehra. And after Amit Mehra entered, of course, he taught me a whole new way of looking at my kitchen, and that was with a lot of fun. So basically, what he did was he made me take off my perfectionist hat. He told me to take a chill pill. He said, doesn't matter if I'm spilling things, doesn't matter if, the toast is getting burned, doesn't matter if an egg plops somewhere, and it doesn't matter because ultimately you have to have fun. If you don't have fun, then life isn't worth it. So the kitchen also needs to be a place to have fun. And though I have managed to tame him down a bit, in the sense of all those spillages and things like that, but at the same time I have also learned that it can really be a fun place, the kitchen. So here's how we did it. One of the first things that Amit and I did was we got into menu planning. We both love food, and we both loved shopping for food, as I've told you earlier. So when it came to menu planning, it wasn't like, okay, so we'll have dal chawal today and rajma chawal tomorrow and mutton curry day after and palak something there. We said that let's make even the food planning a little more exotic. So how do we do that? And so we sat and thought about it, and we said that let's do a weekly kind of a thing where every week we explore a particular country. So like if we're doing China, say, if we're doing Chinese food, then for 7 days, breakfast, lunch, dinner, let's plan things which are all Chinese. So because there were just two of us, and if we went and bought, ingredients for Chinese food, it would there would be a lot of things left over. So we had to use it all up, and we had to justify buying the kind of stuff we wanted to buy. So we said, let's do a whole week. And in a week, of course, there are like 21 main meals, right? So it was like, okay, so you take so many meals and I'll take so many meals, and you research your meals and I'll research mine. And we threw in a whole lot of things like you need to learn how to say it, and how to say the recipe's name, and give us a little history of the recipe. It sort of made the whole thing a voyage of discovery. So if it was Chinese this week, it was probably Spanish the next week, and it we were like on this huge. Amit's favorite, of course, was the French one. He's very French, Gay Paris and all that. But it was really great fun because there was so much that we learned, and especially in today's day and age where you have so much available on Twitter. on Google, on YouTube. There are so many, recipe videos available, and so many vlogs that are there of people talking about food in different countries and things like that. So we had a blast with that. And as a result, of course, we learned a whole lot of new recipes, a whole lot of new types of foods. Our palates increased. We learned of all sorts of new ingredients that sort of went into certain things. We also sort of discovered similarities between ingredients, dhania patti and cilantro, coriander and cilantro, and the fact that they actually use cumin so much in the West, and various things like that. It was really an eye opener going on this weekly journeys into different countries in our kitchen. Just sitting in our kitchen, we were doing that, and you should try it. It's really fun. And of course, one of the main things is to let your husband or wife, depending on who's the kitchen uh, ruler in the home, and your children in, to let them cook as well, because they have, probably they are bringing things to the table that you might not have ever thought about. It's like, thinking out of the box. For instance, I remember when I first came back from boarding school, and my mother served me a banana to eat for my breakfast. I promptly picked it up and did what we did in boarding school, where one didn't have jam every day. So we used to mash our banana on that toast and eat it, and it was yummy. And my mother sort of looked at me and she was like, "What on earth are you doing? How can you mash banana onto your toast? How yucky is that?" I said, "Try it, have a bite and see." And today you actually have people telling you that, instead of using sugary jams and jellies, use fresh fruit along with your peanut butter or your butter to make a sandwich and eat. It's so healthy. I mean, nice crunchy apples in between two slices of toast. You never know what your children are bringing to the plate or to the table, so to speak. And of course, husbands can be great cooks. You just need to sort of, when they enter the kitchen, you exit and don't go back in till they're sort of done. I remember when we were, around 4 or 5 years old, it was Diwali, and the men decided, my father and his friends told the ladies that, ladies, it's your night tonight, Diwali is your night, we are going to cook. And this I'm talking about in the 60s, when it was very rare that men went into the kitchen unless they were being paid. So my mother and her friends, they were like, "Okay, all right, we don't know what we're going to get, but we can always go to the mess for dinner if things don't work out." But I remember as a child, watching this whole thing, and it was such fun because the men were having a blast. I mean, I remember one person sort of emptied half a bottle of beer into something, and my dad did something with rum, and somebody was doing something else with whiskey. I mean, they were cooking meat and dal and stuff like that, but all this alcohol was going into it and going into them. And by the end of it, it was quite a decent dinner. At least as kids, we loved it. I remember there were some charred bits here and there, but it was Diwali, and who cared? And we did ultimately, I think.
Anup is saying the cats are doing well. I'm joining you live from Manila.
Hi, Anup.
And Kirti is
How's the weather? Kirti's what?
Kirti has joined. She's saying
Hi, Kirti. How are the poems going? So, letting the men cook is a good way, of taking a break from the kitchen. It's a good way to sort of, for them to find out what cooking is all about, really, and allowing them their creativity as well, and sort of having the whole family sort of join in the fun of the fact that he has done something, or if it's the wife who doesn't cook normally in the house, that she has done something. Then you can always plan a cookout with your friends. We have had so many great cookouts. I remember there was this one time when Suparn came over and he was making this, what was it? Bourbon meat. And I watched, scandalized, while he put these huge big chunks of ginger in, and he put the meat in, and he put the bourbon in, and I don't know what else he put in, and he sort of, marinated it all in the pressure cooker itself. And he looked at me and he said, like, can I taste this now? I said, no way, it's raw meat, you can't taste it. So he said, okay, I guess then I'll have to wait for it to cook before I taste it. And he did cook it, and it came out surprisingly well. It was really yummy, that dish. And I don't think he knew quite what he was doing when he started off, but by the end of it, he was very happy with his creation. And then, of course, there was this cookout we did when we all classmates again landed up in Dubai at a friend's house, and we were all staying there. So and everybody was cooking. Everybody wanted to feed everybody. So Mathai was making chicken noodle soup while somebody was frying eggs, and somebody was doing steaks, and somebody else was doing a salad, and Amit had his mussels, and I mean the mussels as in the fish, not mussels like that. So it was crazy fun, and I mean there was like 5 people in there cooking 5 different things, and everybody peeping into everybody else's pot like, oh, so you've got that going, okay, so even I want some of this and I want some of that. And it's really fun to do cookouts with your friends, and it's chaotic, of course, and a lot of booze gets consumed, there's no doubt about that, but it's a messy kitchen the next morning, but it's worth all the fun. Then, of course, I have this thing which I've had from before of singing to your food. Sing while you cook. It is such a great way to let the pressure out, and it's such a great way to sort of communicate with your food. And it doesn't matter if you can't carry a note, it doesn't matter if you don't know a song. I remember once my mother sort of, she had allowed me into the kitchen on a particular day, and she was sitting and watching me cook, and I didn't realize I was singing. And but at the end of when I finished making whatever I was making, she said, I wish Jhandu Bam knew what various tunes their song could, because I had the whole day been singing Jhandu Bam, Pira Hari Bam, Jhandu Bam, Pira Hari. And that's what I was doing while I was cooking. I mean, I was singing Jhandu Bam continuously for, I think, an hour and a half or something of that sort. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, I didn't even know what I was doing. I was enjoying myself, and the food came out pretty good. And so it doesn't matter what song you're singing, as long as you're singing and, sort of enjoying your time in the kitchen. Then, of course, there are things that you can do
Old
like,
Soul has joined,
hi, old soul.
and Ash.
Hi, Ash. You are late again. And by the way, guys, I must tell you, I'm very sorry that we weren't here last Sunday, but we were cooking till 8 o'clock at night. So I think that sort of, puts us out of the dock, so to speak. But going back to having fun with your kitchen, one great thing to do with your kitchen, and it's something that we do constantly with the rest of our house, so I don't see why not with the kitchen, is play with the decor. You can sort of get some little potted plants, herbs, and sort of put them in one of the sunnier spots over there. Get some nice, lovely floral printed curtains or something of that sort. If you've got like tiles happening in your kitchen, which most of us do, get some watercolors and paint pictures, nice bright red apples and green grapes and leaves and things like that. And you can keep washing that off and changing the picture every day. Or if you have an artistic child, maybe they can come and do it. I used to do it in my bathroom as a youngster. I used to like paint these bamboo trees on the tiles in the bathroom. And my mother, of course, after the first initial shock, she was quite appreciative of it actually. But it's a great way of brightening up your kitchen, have these little places where you have pictures happening. Maybe you can put up a board, like one of those magnetic boards or one of those tack-on type boards, soft boards. I'm not too sure what they're called. And, have like storyboards happening, or tell your family that, if you want to eat something, you have to draw it. And the drawing has to be good enough for us to understand what it is that you want to eat. and then you will get that. So you can, make it a game, get the whole family involved in it. Then you can sort of, create or buy some really nice, interesting kitchen linen. We tend to sort of, ignore kitchen linen because invariably it's like rags and stuff like that, because who really cares? It's only when you're, sending food across to your neighbor, which is something that used to happen in the old days, that you tied it in a nice, pretty, napkin or whatever, the dish, and then you took it across. Nowadays, of course, you have these disposable things that you sort of just pack into those plastic boxes or whatever. So there are no napkins or, kitchen towels being used anymore. But it's nice to have, pretty, pretty kitchen towels in your kitchen, and, remember to discard them after a couple of months or whatever, because they do get yellow and they do get stained, and it's time for new ones to come in. And you can make them yourself, or, you can buy them. There's so many available. You can even get yourself new cookware. I love cooking out of new cookware. And though I have a pressure cooker that is, I think, around, how old is our pressure cooker, Amit? 15 years old? 20 years old? 20 years old. So we have one pressure cooker which is 20 years old, and the poor thing still sort of, manages to produce good food. But, and I don't have the heart to retire it, because it really does a good job. But, you can buy, say, a new fry pan or something, and suddenly, you want to fry that egg in the morning because you've got this new pan you want to try out. Even just a new ladle or something of that sort. It's really fun to sort of, spend a little bit of money on your kitchen and do things, sort of indulge your kitchen, so to speak, so that you are actually indulging yourself and sort of, not letting you have a tough time. And you can even sort of like have a makeover day for your kitchen. So once a week at least, or once a month or twice a month, make it a day when you're not cooking in your kitchen, but you're like pulling out all the drawers, all the shelves, everything, and you're like changing things around, or sort of designing your bottles of masalas and things like that. Or you're sort of changing where you keep your glassware, you're changing where you keep your flatware, or you're sort of, turning things around like you do with a wardrobe. Like, you have a summer wardrobe and you have a winter wardrobe, and you turn things around that, okay, these 3 months I'm going to be wearing these clothes or whatever it is. But you can do that in your kitchen as well, because, when you open up those drawers, you suddenly realize that, oh wow, I didn't know I had these dishes, so let me use these for serving the food, or let me use these to cook. Or, oh wow, I've got these beautiful wooden ladles. I actually discovered, in my range, the oven part, which I don't use anymore, I had stuffed like 5 different wooden ladles in there some time ago, and I'd even forgotten all about them. And luckily for me, I discovered them before Amit did, because otherwise Amit would have been, see, again, you are hoarding. So you never know what you might find on the day that you give your kitchen that makeover. And of course, get rid of stuff that is, gone by its best by date, and stuff that are vessels that are cracked or unusable, or, the what do you call it, the non-stick, the Teflon coating is gone. Give those away, throw them away, or, use them to sort of, I don't know if they still have battan walis coming around, people who used to take old, no, I think that was saris. They took clothes and they gave you utensils in return. But there are places where you can, give these old utensils away and get something in return. Either they buy it by weight, or just donate it. The last time Amit and I were getting rid of stuff, we gave it to our lady downstairs who's in charge of the security, and she was so happy, she was so grateful. She was like, I'm going home right now and cooking. And for her, it was like new dishes. And for me, my kitchen felt lighter, felt airier, and it gave me a huge excuse to go out and splurge and buy some more things for it. So apart from doing all these things, one of the main things that you need to do or should do from time to time is move away from cooking regular food. I mean, we all get bored, right, of making dal, chawal, chawal, dal, chawal, chawal, dal. I mean, yeah, okay, fine. We were brought up to believe that you have to have your nutritious meals and you have to have carbs and you have to have proteins, you have to have vegetables, you have to have all that. But you can do that so much more creatively nowadays because the world has opened up. Everything is, globalization or whatever. There are new foods out there to eat. And you can do things like, create a salad bar one day for your family, just chop all sorts of, lettuce and greens and stuff like that. If you're non-vegetarian, have a little bit of chicken in a bowl, a little bit of ham maybe, a little bit of prawns maybe, or some grilled fish or something of that sort, and just put it out on the table with 3 different types of dressings, a mayo, a Thousand Island, and a vinaigrette or something of that sort, and tell everybody, okay, fine, go ahead, create your own salad and eat it. Okay, tonight's salad bar night. So you can eat when you want. You don't have to heat it up. You don't have to warm it up. It's there on the table and you can eat it when you want. You can eat it 3 times in the evening if you don't want to eat it all at one go. And it's a great thing to do. It's a great fun thing to do. Maybe on a Sunday or evening, when you really want to watch that movie on TV and you don't want to be bothered about going into the kitchen 5 times to warm up the meal for 5 different people. Or you can do make your own pizza day. And pizzas don't take more than 10 minutes in the oven. Again, you can keep everything ready, the tomato sauce, the cheese grated, and the toppings, whatever toppings you want to have. Keep them all sliced up and ready, and everybody make your own pizza. So somebody wants a margarita, they just use tomatoes and cheese and shove it in the oven. And nowadays you don't even need to make that pizza dough at home. You can buy ready-made pizza bases, pizza bread or whatever it's called. Or if you don't even want to do that, if you have some bread in the house, just sort of roll it, damp it a bit and roll it out and flatten it, and then you can put your topping on that, and when it goes into the oven it comes out nice and crusty and it plumps up again, so it's almost like a pizza, yummier actually. You can even do a picnic in the kitchen, a kitchenic. So Amit and I have great fun doing that, especially at breakfast, or sometimes when we're doing those typical North Indian lunches, when you want those rotis, those nice crispy rotis with ghee on them and then crushed up, and with the dal, or you're having puri aloo or something, and it's like coming hot off the kadhai, the pan, the oil, and right onto your plate. So have a table in there and a couple of chairs, and have people eating while you're cooking, and the conversations going on, and before you realize it, your family's probably eaten more than what they normally do, because the food is coming hot right from the gas, in the kitchen itself, and it's good fun. And you can do this especially when the weather's nice and cool, and you don't mind sitting in the kitchen. Luckily for us in Bombay, 365 days in the year, the kitchen is a very habitable place. And I find, especially in my home, and it's always been the case, I don't know why, but people tend to gravitate towards the kitchen. Like if I'm in there cooking or something of that sort, I find if we have guests in the house, they're always in there chatting and talking, and nobody is like, stuck in the living room or something of that sort. So a kitchen needs to be a place which is welcoming and comfortable for everybody to sort of, wander in and have a chat with you while you're doing what you're doing, and maybe help you out sometimes. Then another thing you should do, and especially if you've got a nice large family of 5-6 people or whatever, and you have a lot of leftovers in the fridge. Of course, recycling leftovers creatively is also a fun thing to do. But an even more funner thing to do would be to actually auction that leftover. And with the money that you collect from the auction, you can spoil your kitchen and buy something for it. So like you have a little bowl of mutton curry, or a little bowl of palak, or a little bowl of dal or whatever, and you set your base price, and whoever wants to, eat it or consume it has to either meet the base price or go above it. Of course, it depends on how well you are able to sort of sell it to them, to your family. But I'm sure if you try and be your creative best or whatever, it can actually become quite an event. Leftover auction from straight from the refrigerator to your plate. But one thing I would seriously advise is, apart from moving away from your normal meals, is even your normal meals. I feel it's very necessary to simplify them, and there are so many recipes that are complicated, and especially some of our Indian foods can be quite complicated. And if you're doing them on a daily basis, if you have that kind of a traditional home where everything is done according to those traditional recipes and stuff like that, then it can become quite a drudge. And especially nowadays when household help is so difficult to find, and it's not a joint family anymore, so you don't really have people sort of sharing in your labor or whatever it is. So try and sort of simplify the meals so that they're not taking so much of your time and effort. Time it so that, like, within 1 hour you should be able to make 3 things and a staple and get out of the kitchen. And the way you can do that is the drudgy kind of chores, things like grinding or pureeing the garlic and the ginger and the tomato, and picking the coriander and picking the pudina, and the coconut and stuff like that, and having masalas ready, and various things like that, or even your palak. Do those on a day when you're not weighed down by too much cooking. So, like, it happens to me very often, when I'm going into the kitchen and I know I have to make this mutton curry, and I'm feeling lazy about it because I really don't want to, get into grinding stuff and peeling garlic and all that kind of stuff. And I go in and I'm like, hey, wow, I've got ginger garlic ground already. I've got onions, chopped and fried, semi-fried kind of thing, and I've got all this ready. So I just have to throw it all together and I'm out of there in 15 minutes. And it is such a joy. I mean, you've done the work yourself earlier, but to actually go in there and to reap the fruits of your labor for yourself is a wonderful way to sort of reduce the drudge part of the kitchen. And then you feel like singing, believe me, Jhandu Baam. So if you kind of know what is the kind of food that your family normally consumes on a weekly basis, you can actually prepare ahead. And nowadays a lot of foods can be frozen as well. So you can sort of semi-cook them, semi-prep them, and freeze them and put them away. And that brings me to the very last point that I want to make in today's podcast, and which is that when you are having fun in the kitchen, the best way to have fun in the kitchen is to learn to reward yourself. You need it, okay? I mean, like anybody and everybody who does any kind of work, whether it's doing well in school, you get promoted to the next class. You do well in your job, you get promoted to the next level. You get a salary hike, a bump up, whatever it is. So any other area of work that one does, one always gets promoted. One always gets rewarded. So why not when you're cooking? Why not when you're in the kitchen? Why can't you reward yourself? I mean, yes, your family might turn around and say, hey, superfood, we love it. Or your guests might turn around and say, hey, superfood, we love it. And that is a reward. But it's so much better when you tell yourself that, okay, I've done well today. I've cooked a whole lot of food today, and I'm going to reward myself. My best reward, of course, is, no, not that glass of wine, no, is to have a really long, luxurious bath, hot water, get all the smell of food out of my hair, out of my pores, and sort of, use a nice, expensive French perfume And I mean, Amit might turn around and say, "You're going out somewhere, somebody's coming over." But no, none of that. I am rewarding myself. I am spoiling myself, and I am being a beauty queen for a change. And so, I mean, figure out what it is that gets you. It might be, you know, a piece of chocolate, it might be a glass of wine, it might be a really good hot cup of chai with adrak in it, it might be curling up with a book, it might be, you know, watching uninterrupted television for an hour or so, or it might just be chatting with a friend on WhatsApp or Twitter or whatever it is. So figure out what your reward is, and when you do it, tell yourself that this is my reward because I have, you know, done something really worthwhile, and that's every day, right? You do it every day. So reward yourself every day and go ahead, go out there and have fun in the kitchen. Bye. Any questions? No questions? Any comments?
You have to tell Anu, Captain, that when he's in Manila, so you tell him that have a great time.
Anup, I hope you're having a really good time in Manila. And how's the weather there? I hope there are no typhoons, cyclones, or any of those kind of things happening. That's the only thing that scares me about Philippines.
It's 27 degrees and it's raining.
Oh,
On the 21st floor.
good fun. You're on the 21st floor.
31st.
31st floor. Wow, scary. Is the building swaying? I have a lot of very
You
good
have to wish
Filipino
everybody
friends.
Independence Day.
Oh, yes, of course. Tomorrow we all turn 75 years old as Indians, independent Indians. So I hope you're all going to have a great time and say Jai Hind and all sorts of things like that. I remember in school we used to have this lovely song we used to sing, and I don't know why it's not sung anymore nowadays, but it's one of the most beautiful patriotic songs that I have ever come across. And here's how it goes. Jai Bharat Jai Jan Bharat Jai Jagrit Bharat Jaya 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 Jagrit Bharat Jaya 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 Jai Bharat Jai Jan Bharat Jaya आओ वीर पंचनदवासी गंगा जमुना के बुद्धि विकासी बंगदेश के कला प्रकाशी कर्म कुशल दक्षिणाधिवासी आओ सब मिल भेद बुलावे भारत को भूस्वर्ग बनाए हिंदुस्तान हिंदुस्तान एक यहाँ के जमीन आसमान एक बनेंगे हम सब निश्चय लोहे की दीवार समान लोहे की दीवार समान लोहे की दीवार समान जय भारत जय जन भारत जय जागृत भारत जय 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 जागृत भारत जय 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 भारत जय जागृत भारत remember जागृत
He's saying, wow, you should record these.
I think YouTube is recording them.
Want to sing a Rabindra Songit?
No, I don't want to sing Rabindra Songit. We'll all be singing Rabindra Songit tomorrow. And then I'll have to have everybody stand to attention, including me. Chalo. Bye-bye.
Okay.
See you guys. Oh, big announcement. We might be pushing the podcast to Monday evenings instead of Sunday evenings because we have discovered that we actually do a lot of cooking on Sunday nowadays. So Mondays, I hope that's good for everybody. Have you switched off?
Once.
And do you guys think that Amit should also be doing the podcast? I mean, he's the one who really loves being with you all. Not that I don't, but I mean, he really enjoys conversing with all of you, whether it's, you know, through YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or now, of course, WhatsApp. So let's vote on this. I say yay, Amit does podcast. Mr. Mehra?
Saying maybe do a jugalbandi with you.
Yeah, Jugalbandi. Then we'll be fighting over here. I'll say, no, I'll say. What do you say? I'll say. Come on.
He's saying jugalbandi.
Jugalbandi.
Say bye.
Bye, guys. Happy Independence Day. Enjoy yourselves. Be good Indians.